All right, let's do it live on a First Friday Miracle edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z. I don't even care that it's cold, baby. There's an orb in the sky.
It's sunny. It's
Look
beautiful.
At it out there. Gorgeous.
It's the sun reminds me of the Golden Dome worn by our new offensive coordinator.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
Well, how
Did
about
that happen? Is that breaking news?
Yesterday it was breaking news. Today,
Look at G-Man. G-Man is just really shaking his head as if.
Today it is official news.
Official news.
Official news.
Official news of the day. Lots of news of the day.
Yeah, making it officially official, the Browns said on their post 1 hour ago. Officially official. We have named Tommy Rees as our new offensive coordinator. So there you go.
Bright young coach. Huge coup to keep him in-house. We know that he was coveted around the league. Coveted at North Carolina. Pretty wild that if Belichick says no, they may have gone Tommy Rees as the number 2 to run that program. So it gives you an idea of how impressive the young man is. My second-hand knowledge of how impressive he is came from my buddy, Mr. Laurinaitis, who was on the staff with him at Notre Dame. And when Tommy got the job at Alabama, Three said to me, he's going to do just fine there. And he did. He goes, his scheme stuff's unbelievable. His rhythm for play calling is unbelievable. Has a real good feel for it. We saw that at Alabama immediately. Not immediately. It took a little while. But second half of that year, Jalen Milroe really took off. And so I remember when we hired him thinking, well, that's a bright young mind.
Yep. And that's
a big hit. And now just an expanded role for him. And as you articulated yesterday when this was merely a report, that his acumen with young quarterbacks specifically would feel like a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I think it certainly does feel like a no-brainer. His familiarity with not only the college game, where he's been an OC in the last few years before coming to the NFL as our tight ends coach. Again, a great get to add him to that staff. Last season. Also, his familiarity with those concepts and just the fact that he's 32. He was a college quarterback not that long ago.
No, yeah.
And he certainly can relate to, whoever the Browns tab to be that young quarterback of the present and future. I think there are a lot of people out there connecting, saying, oh, well, they hired him, so obviously they're going to go get Milroe. I think that's an erroneous assumption. I'm not saying they're not going to get him, but I don't think it's an automatic.
I don't think they're linked.
I don't think they're linked in any way. I think he'll have the best evaluation of him that you could have in this building. So you'll know exactly where you would want to slot him on your draft board. But I think the notion that means that now that's going to be our quarterback, I think that's a bit premature.
Yeah, Tommy played 4
like that notion.
seasons.
I would block it like I was Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah.
Blocked.
I like it. Steve Timmons could block, too. You remember Steve Timmons?
Oh, yeah.
With Karch Karai?
Oh, yeah. Dude. Karch Karai.
Those guys could.
Come on.
What a squad that was. Great hair game. Karai had
it all.
Flowing blonde locks, and then Timmons had the red flat top.
They had it all.
I think he ended up married to the Tool Time girl on that. What was that sitcom Tim Allen did?
Home Improvement.
That one. Yeah. Yeah, I think he
With Al Borland?
Yeah. I think all that happened, if memory served. Tommy played 4 seasons at Notre Dame, 2 as the starter, was played in spot duty as a freshman, then again as a junior, was the starter as a sophomore in 11, and then again in 2013. He was on that staff under Brian Kelly, on that staff under Marcus Freeman, then goes to Alabama under Saban, and then now will be in his second year here. And so that is very good news.
Yes.
On that side of things.
Yes, indeed. I got a quote for you, if you'd like.
Oh,
it.
yeah. Let's do a quote.
From Kevin Stefanski. He said, and I quote, Tommy has an incredible football mind. He's extremely bright. He's been around the game his entire life. Before joining our staff, he established himself as one of the top assistant coaches in college football. Last season, he transitioned into our tight end room and with our pass game, and he didn't miss a beat. Due to injuries, there was a lot of uncertainty at tight end, but Tommy did a phenomenal job with that group and always had his players ready for game day, despite in some cases only being with the team for a short period of time. Blake Whiteheart comes to mind.
Yeah.
Innovation is such a critical element to the offensive game planning process, and Tommy brings that. Our intent is to build a sound and explosive offense that will put points on the board, and I'm looking forward to working with Tommy to reshape the Browns offense in 2025. So there you go. So just kind of give the quick background again. 2023, Alabama's offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. They won the SEC championship game. They advanced to the college football playoffs. 6 seasons as a coach at Notre Dame, first coaching quarterbacks and adding the role as offensive coordinator, where he held it for 20, 21, and 22. In his 3 years there as a coordinator, the team averaged more than 30 points per game each season and advanced the college football playoffs in 20 after posting an undefeated regular season. Helped and develop a number of future NFL draft picks at Notre Dame: Michael Mayer, Kyron Williams, Liam Eichenberg, Tommy Tremble, Robert Hainsey, Ian Book, Ben Skoranek. Under Reese's guidance, Book finished Notre Dame as the winningest signal caller in school history. He also finished second in career yards, completions, collegiate percentage, pass touchdowns. Book posted a 30-5 record. Now, that's not to say that Reese, no slouch himself. He's second in Notre Dame history in touchdown passes, third in passing yards. His father, Bill, worked as the Browns director of player personnel from 2004 to 2008.
There you go.
Yeah.
I didn't know that part.
Me neither.
That part of it. That's an interesting wrinkle.
Yeah. He was an offensive assistant, first NFL job 2016, offensive assistant for San Diego, and worked with quarterback Phillip Rivers. Began at Northwestern, 4-year letter winner at Notre Dame. 23-8 as the starting quarterback for the Golden Domes. There you go.
Yeah, that's great.
That's it.
It's a nice resume. It's a I think that when you think about what this offseason is going to be about, and we watched the Hard Knocks episode last night where we were that was the conclusion that felt like the end of Hard Knocks, the way that they did the one yesterday. I don't know how many people were even aware that it was going to be on. A lot of people I talked to this morning who had no idea that there was another episode of it.
Gibbe was telling everybody it was over.
Gibbe was saying it was over. Luckily we had Siciliano. He was on it, that there was potentially more, and so you got more. But what this offseason, we'll talk about 1,000 different machinations of this, but the two things that are job 1 and 1A, and they are absolutely linked, is quarterback and what are the Cleveland Browns offensively? What is it? What does that mean? We know what it was for Kevin during the majority of his time here. It was something different last year. We all know why it was something different. I assume that they would go back to what we were previously, the wide zone and the play action and all of the things in that Kubiak-Shanahan tree that is under that. I assume that would be the case, and then Tommy would be able to take pieces of things that he's learned along the way or things that he has implemented and perhaps put those wrinkles in there. But in terms of an offensive identity, that's what this team would be. And those two things are absolutely linked, and honestly, everything else this offseason is eighth to that.
It's the only thing.
That's all there is.
That is all that there is, and we are going to have lots of time to debate and yell and scream.
I'm not going to do any of those things.
No, me neither. I'll talk in a very calm, rational manner. I'll do some film study, but to see kind of what that path is going to be. But that's it, my friend. That's what this whole offseason and, quite frankly, every subsequent offseason until you have an answer quarterback. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. By the way, I don't know if you saw this. Let me before I get yelled at if I'm going to spoil anything. Nope, we're still good here. Nope, still very good here. Yep, still good here, and we're good. Mm-hmm. Dane Brugler released a 2-round mock draft today.
Okay.
And I'm sure at some point we want to dissect that in a much more in-depth manner. But what I will tell you is he has the Browns picking. He has Cam Ward go 1, Browns picking at 2, and taking Abdul Carter from Penn State, the edge.
Really nice player.
Giants then take Travis Hunter. T-Mac goes to the Patriots. Will Johnson to the Jags. And then Shedeur Sanders goes 6 to the Raiders. My guess is if the Raiders want him, somebody who is not taking him, whether that be us, will make them come get him.
Yeah.
For something.
So he has the Giants passing?
He has the Giants passing and taking Travis Hunter.
So what are the Giants going to do? Run the single wing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, they don't have any quarterbacks.
No, they do not. I guess in free agency. Maybe they'll bring back Danny Dimes.
I mean, we do have DTR. I mean, he's here. Like, they don't.
They have Drew Lock, I guess.
I mean, come on.
Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, I don't see any scenario how. I love Dane. I don't see any scenario how the Giants would not take a quarterback at 3 if.
So the thing to me that was the most interesting about this, and I know we've seen within the last hour that Quinn Ewers has said, I am going.
I'm going, baby.
I'm going. And now I don't know if that was factored into this particular draft, but What I will say is the only other quarterback who goes in the first or second round is Milroe. He has Milroe going to the Giants in the second. Pick 34. No Jackson Dart in the second round.
Yep.
No Quinn Ewers in the second round. No Will Howard, obviously. No other quarterbacks. That's it. That's the list in terms of the top 2 rounds. So 3 quarterbacks go in the top 2 rounds. That's it.
Can you you want to do a little thought experiment with me? I know you do.
Nothing would make me happier.
Why even ask?
Yeah.
I know the answer to that. You asked the question.
I got giddy. See my face light
You know
up.
the answer. Let's do it. Let's count all the teams that need to add to their quarterback room.
Okay. We're going to
So
go
either
division by division.
We're going to go division by division.
Okay.
So we're going to start in the AFC East. Buffalo, no. New England, no. Miami and New York, both yes.
Yes. Miami needs a backup or
Yeah.
a potential future guy, but they're not like they don't need a starter. The Jets, yes.
Yes. All right, North, just us.
Us.
Well,
And Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, us and Pittsburgh.
Yeah. They don't. I mean, I just imagine like those end of season meetings in Pittsburgh when they say, Mike, what happened? And he just goes, well, we spent $3 million on quarterback and I won 10 games.
Yeah,
That's what
pretty
happened.
Good. That's what happened.
That's how that went.
AF
South.
Tennessee, Indianapolis,
Yeah.
and then West, just Vegas.
Just Vegas. That's 7 just in the AFC.
That's AFC. Yeah. Okay.
NFC. G-Men.
Oh, NFC East. All right. G-Men, yes. Dallas, no. Philly, no. Washington, no.
North.
Detroit,
all-
no. Minnesota, no, because they've got McCarthy there. Chicago, no. Green Bay, no.
South. New Orleans.
New Orleans,
That's probably it.
and then Atlanta's got Penix. Yep.
All right, West.
Seattle,
Ish.
and I would say Tampa's ish.
I think Seattle, Tampa are kind of like if the right thing fell, they would be more than it, but it's not going to. But you see my – and then you heard rumors about maybe Kyler being on the market in Arizona for whatever value he could have. That was earlier this week I saw that. That perhaps potentially he could be had.
Why?
Just not exactly sure. It was one of those – you see it on the social. I don't know
Yeah.
if there was anything much to it.
Well,
but this is my point. So when you tell me that 3 quarterbacks are in Dane's 2-round mock, I would tell you that there are 9 who absolutely either need to add a starter or someone to be the future. Absolutely. Lock, 9. There's 2 more that are probably going to kick the tires on one in the 3rd or 4th round with Tampa Bay and Seattle. But there are 9 teams that either need a new starter or a future at the position. 9. So if you want to give me an over-under on quarterbacks drafted in the first 2 rounds at 3.5, I'll go over. I just don't know where else you're going to fill these positions.
Do you think Dart and Ewers will go at least in the first 2 rounds?
Of course. I would say the 3 that you mentioned and Dart and Ewers, both. And there could be somebody who's
Will Howard.
who we don't know, who plays well, tests well, better than people thought. Like if Will Howard goes out and goes 28 of 33 for 329 and 3 touchdowns and no picks, and then he's gonna ace all the interpersonal stuff at the combine. He's got kind of a Baker attitude. I mean, he's very confident, and if he just throws it decently,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, who knows what it could be? But I guess I'm just saying there aren't enough quarterbacks to go around.
No, of course not. Of course not. You know,
But
guys,
it's not close because this wasn't even the case a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, you and I did this in advance of the draft, and there really weren't that many who, because if you just, even the thing that we just did, a couple of years ago, you would have said no to Miami, you would have said no to the Jets, you would have said no to us, you would have said no to Indianapolis, maybe even no to Tennessee, but definitely Indianapolis.
Yep.
Raiders, Carr would have still been there. That would have probably been a no. In the NFC East, Giants had just done Dimes' extension. That would have been a no. There were other teams that have done it differently, but this is a big number, man.
Of course it's a big number because it is very difficult. It's a very difficult position to get right and to stay right and to, at one point the Rams would have said they had that in Goff, and then he takes them to a Super Bowl and they trade him anyway.
Yeah.
And now he has a chance to go back to Super Bowl with another team. It's everything. That position is everything in the National Football League, and that is going to be exactly the focus of everything that this organization does, I think, and should be until they get it right, period, full stop. Like, that is it. That's all that matters. Now, there are guys there are options out there. I saw something today that I thought was interesting, and it kind of piqued my interest a little bit, and then I looked up, and he's still on his rookie deal. But the Seahawks traded for Sam Howell last year from Washington, who had a solid season the year before, threw too many picks in Washington, but was, they were overmatched, not a good football team. Ben Johnson, the Lion. Did you see the story?
No, I did not.
The Lions
connecting dots.
Coordinator was going to interview with Washington, and if you remember, he flew there, and then the plane turned around, and he went home and never interviewed with him.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
So I saw a story today. Again, you just read it I have no idea of the veracity of the story, that said Johnson was a big Sam Howell guy and wanted to have Sam Howell be his quarterback. And they were like, no, we're drafting a quarterback, which obviously turned out to be Jane Daniels. Good idea.
Yeah.
But then at that point, when they heard that from him, they're like, yeah, no, you're not the guy. So, which is interesting, but it also makes me think Ben Johnson, similar style offense in Detroit to what we run.
Yep.
That he saw something in Sam Howell of that level that was interesting. And so I said, well, man, maybe he's a free agent this year. He's not. He's got one more year on his rookie deal. And they actually traded a third and a fifth, or maybe they traded a third and a fifth and got back Howell a fourth and a sixth, something like that.
Okay.
So
he was a big-time prospect in high school that went to North Carolina and had buzz of being like a number one overall guy. And then remember De'Ami Brown, all those guys left, and then he was kind of left last man on board.
Yep.
And had kind of a bit of a down last year there. And that's kind of how it ended up the way that it did. But, I mean, those type of stones are the ones you're going to have to unturn.
Yes.
Several of these teams are. Because even if on our most optimistic view of this, let's say somehow 5 of these quarterbacks go in the first 2 rounds, that's still not enough.
No.
Not close.
No, then you're in the Darnold. Darnold will be starting somewhere. I think it's probably not going to be Minnesota at this point, but maybe
the only thing that I don't know about there is
JJ.
just the health of JJ. Like, where's his health at? But no, you would think it would be. That's going to be really tricky for Kwesi and those guys to navigate because Darnold went 14-3. He was bad the last 2 times out.
And they were both kind of playoff games.
Both were playoff games, absolutely. You drafted the future, but is the future healthy? And then can you risk the future? Did you see enough of JJ last summer and the brief training camp? They were confident in him. He was going to be the guy here in those workouts, but now he's injured. So because they're ready to go.
Yeah.
They went 14-3 with Darnold, so they got to make sure that they are at least equal to that with JJ. I'm guessing they would be, provided he's
Ben
healthy.
Johnson, by the way, from Mr. Siciliano chiming in, was at UNC, so he had a connection to
There's the
Howell.
connect.
But nonetheless, when you're taking that job after being the hot offensive coordinator, you need a quarterback that you believe in. And so to me, if he believes in him that much that he could run his offense, that intrigues me by the transitive property of intriguedness.
The other thing is Ben Johnson has the NFL part of it, so it's not delusional connection. Like, remember when Steve Spurrier got the job in Washington? He brought in Danny Werfel and Shane Matthews.
And they ran full scheme in the preseason and put up 48 on everybody.
Slinging every throw.
Regular season, got a rude awakening.
That probably should have been a hard – that doesn't get as much attention.
That should be a 30 for 30.
That doesn't get as much attention as Urban's. Because Urban, we were in a 24/7 news cycle, and we were in a social media news cycle, so we saw it all. And so we remember Urban saying, well, I want 250 run pass yardage in the NFL every single game, the way that Urban didn't understand how the preseason worked. And I warned everybody that I promise you he's not seen the NFL in probably a decade. Spurrier's maybe is just as bad or worse. Urban at least had the awareness to realize, all right, we've got a number 1 pick in the draft at quarterback. I can build around this. Spurrier was so in the woods that he thought just him and his scheme going into the National Football League could work with his college quarterbacks just because they knew it.
Because they knew it, yeah. It's stupefying is what it really is.
It really is.
So he went, not good, But he did go 12-20 in the NFL.
Mostly with Matthews, wasn't it?
So he goes 12-20. What is this? Oh, that's him playing, coaching, college, NFL. He went 7-9 his first year and 5-11 his second year. So
you went 7-9 with Matthews.
Yeah.
And they spun it a little bit.
Yeah, 2002, a Washington, at that time Redskins. They picked Patrick Ramsey in the first round.
Oh, that's right, out of Tulane.
Liddell Betts in the second round. I don't really recognize anybody else that they drafted. Robert Royal, the tight end, he stayed in the league for a little while. Rock Cartwright in the seventh round, not bad.
There you go.
So that's, somewhat
Great
better.
cowboy name, by the way. Rock Cartwright.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, that guy's
somewhat better than what we got in Jacksonville.
There's no question.
But yes, it was a stupefying thing that Shane Matthews, 3 touchdowns, 442 yards, 31-23 in the fun and gun offense and the opener, and then it was downhill for a little while after that. But yeah, I just remember watching the preseason.
I remember that too.
And they were just lighting people up, running full scheme, giving people tape on them against vanilla defenses, and then all of a sudden it was not as vanilla and it was not quite as good because they won, then they lost 2 in a row, they won, lost 2 in a row, won 2, lost 2 in a row, won 1, lost 3 in a row, and then they had a couple of wins at the end of the season over the Houston Texans and the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
How about it?
It's also amazing when you think about it because how good Jimmy was in Dallas. But what Jimmy Johnson was so smart about that maybe by the time Spurrier and Meyer got there, people realized was that Jimmy took advantage of the fact that he knew so many of these players because that was before scouting departments were huge like they are now, like armies of humans. Like he had the intellectual knowledge of recruiting so many of these kids through the 80s at University of Miami. And that's where his advantage came in.
Yes,
and by the time
the talent.
Yeah, the talent evaluator part of it. And so by the time Spurrier and eventually Urban got there, that was cooked because everybody knows who's good.
Yes.
The only position nobody knows about is quarterback. Everything else there's misses here and there on stuff. You don't know a guy's heart, desire, that stuff. But by and large, you know who the dudes are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We had a Monday nighter. It wasn't good either. It was the Rams over the Vikes, 27-9. The most interesting part of this is the Darnold part of it, and we've talked about it a little bit recently in the last 10 minutes or so, but just this notion of there was a chance when it felt like, well, they have to extend him, and now it feels like they won't unless they don't think McCarthy can play.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Gosh, the NFL season is long. Sam Darnold, remember we did Guess the Stats with him, had a heck of a year.
Yeah.
But in the 2 games where it mattered the most, he wasn't great. I will say, I know some of it was his fault, and I've read some kind of oral histories of some of the plays that did not go well.
Yeah.
That he had answers on the plays but didn't take them and held the ball. First half, he got sacked 6 times. He was 13 of 16 at the half, and he was sacked 6 times. He was getting rocked repeatedly.
Yep.
Some of that's on the offensive line. Some of that's on the scheme and the preparation. But that cost him a lot of money. That cost him a lot of money those 2 games. Because
it sure did.
The reality is it feels like at his best, he is in the class of quarterback that we talked about yesterday that's shown to be, he can be good enough and he can guide you to a successful winning season, but that he is not. You're as close to getting a Super Bowl with him as your quarterback as you are with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the weird balance in the NFL now, is that you've got Pittsburgh hasn't won a playoff game since the Browns have won a playoff game more recently than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
2.
And yet they have a winning record every year.
Yeah.
They're in the playoffs quite a bit. And people want him out of there. Now, I think he has gotten the most. I thought that was a bad roster.
I did too, yeah.
I think you should be more upset with the general manager there than you would be with the head coach. But
maybe they are. Maybe that's why he's there. Maybe they're very well aware of that.
And I think even in a place like soon, you had the Rams with back in the day with Jeff Fisher, 9-7, 9-7, 9-7. It was a joke. Like, we're going to have this 9-7 BS. Eventually, Tampa, I think thought they were going to go from being Brady to irrelevant. They're going to say, okay, well, we're winning divisions, but then eventually they're going to get to the point where we need to be doing more. That's the hard part. Where do you either it's a have or a have-not league, and there is a middle class that is certainly competent and you can win with. And I think that, for example, I know how much Gibbe's pounding the table. For example, Danny Dimes has taken a team to the playoffs. He's won a road playoff game.
Right.
He's somebody that could end up coming in here, probably running our offense if we don't end up taking a quarterback early. Again, I think that number 2 pick has got to result in your quarterback. However you want it to get there, that's fine. But he's somebody where, okay, maybe we can win, we can be successful, but then you look around and you say, are we going to go through 2 or 3 of in a row, Burrow, Jackson, Allen, Mahomes?
It's too...
No is the answer.
Tell me where you sit on this. Because it's also not... It is important that and there is value in being a 9-7, 10-7, 9-8, 11-6, can't win the Super Bowl team. There's great value to your fans. There's great value in the culture that you build around success and winning, and those things matter. This is kind of, as you were talking, this is kind of the line that came to my head. It's valuable until it's not.
Yep.
And if that makes sense.
It's right. Tell people at some point have had enough. Well,
like, what the hell, man?
This isn't okay.
Like, let's go do it. Like, and the difference between that is the so Pittsburgh, Seattle, Tampa, those teams, it's valuable to have fun games for your fans, and let's make the playoffs and hang a banner and all these things, get into the postseason, have a playoff game to sell, all of that stuff. All that's exciting. But then inevitably you look up and you go, well, wait a second, like Kansas City and they're winning it. They're getting to Super Bowls. They're winning. Like, we want that.
Yep.
And that's the part that's really tricky. And I think the difference between the teams that I mentioned, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, Seattle, are the 3 that come to mind, and even a team like Buffalo or Cincinnati, is if Cincinnati were in the postseason in place of Pittsburgh, you would have gone,
they have a chance to win Super Bowl.
Buckle up,
Yeah.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
And if they get in, they can go to Kansas City and win. I've seen them do it. They can do that, no doubt. And that's what the quarterback does.
Yep.
So while Cincinnati hasn't made the playoffs the last 2 years, last year because of injury, and then this most recent season just because of just how brutally they started and how bad their defense was for much of the season, they're like a tweak or 2 away from go win the Super Bowl. And that's the same thing in Buffalo and all of the places where you have that guy.
Yep. Yes.
So that's the thing. It's like
where do I sit on that? You need to be in that group, and until you are in that group, you need to be aggressive, which goes back to why the Browns are in the situation they're in now, is because they felt like they had to take that swing to get in that group. They did. It did not work out. The level of play was not what anybody would have expected. Despite the baggage, the level of play on the field was not what anybody expected, and so you're not in that group, and so you have to be aggressive once again to try to get into that group.
It's also really difficult because there is no surefire way to get into the group.
No, you have to draft. You have to draft one, and
you have to draft one, and you got to hit.
And by the way, you probably have to take that person early.
Mostly, yeah. I mean, we went over it. It's 7 first-round picks and 1 second-round pick that are still playing.
Yeah.
So if there's guys there, you got to do it. It's tricky. It's really
back
tricky.
to where you are now. Like, you gotta.
And then when the quarterback's ready, you got to have a roster that's
around him.
That's why we like the Chicago situation, because if they get the right coach hired there, they have all this talent.
Yep.
And he's in there. I mean, Washington was a similar way. Like, Washington kind of had everything but the quarterback. They're kind of ready to go. Then they get the right quarterback, and let's go.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Denver was like that. Atlanta's like that. All of those teams, like, they have weaponry, and then they get the quarterback, and now theoretically you can
Now you got
go.
a shot.
Yeah.
In
New
Atlanta's
England did
case,
it the other way.
They invested all the money in a quarterback
Right.
that they're not going to be playing.
New England's the only one that went kind of the other way, which was draft the quarterback first and then try to build around it.
which means you have to do that very quickly.
Yeah.
They got a lot of money, though.
They do.
Yeah.
All right, those are your hot topics of the day, presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. We'll do positional review, the special teams side of things, coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. It's presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Hey, Browns fans, this month's winner of the local business platform, presented by Minuteman, is Cilantro Taqueria. Cilantro Taqueria boasts 6 locations throughout Northeast Ohio. They stand by as a testament to hard work and community partnership. Check them out today. To learn more, visit browns.com/community/local business platform on that side of things. Time for our position review, and we are talking about the special teams unit. Outside of Corey Bjorquez and Charlie, who usually does a pretty dang good job, this was tough. Tough sledding this year for Bubba's boys.
Boy, was it. It was a very tough sled this season. And, you know, you had long snapper was good. You had Charlie Hewlett, who ended up on IR with a rib injury on October 9th after having appeared in 152 consecutive games, and see him around here, and you love Charlie, and you just wonder kind of what the future is there.
Yep.
He has a cap hit of $1.4 million next season. Rex Sunahara, exclusive rights free agent, took over and pretty much was the guy the whole season, local kid, and did a good job. As far as certainly that we know, there were no bad snaps. There were no issues from that regard. So that'll be kind of interesting to watch. Charlie's been a real staple here, but a team, and I hope that Charlie is here. Rex was great kid, and obviously you like his story. You hope he's here as well. But the reality is you probably can only have one long snapper. Now, you may have two into camp and make a decision there. But, you're a team that's got to watch your pennies in certain areas. And to be able to save, $500,000, $500,000 is probably appealing if there was not a drop-off or a significant drop-off in the performance there. Corey Bojorquez was great for you, outstanding. Longest punt in the NFL, led the league in punting yardage, led the league in punts inside the 10, was in the top 5 in punts inside the 20. In terms of just, the leg, was able to change the game. He missed a few punts, but, overall, his body of work, I thought, was exceptional this season. 49.3 yards per punt, 41 net. To have 36 inside the 20, to have 16 inside the 10 and only 7 touchbacks, I think is pretty darn good. If you look at Corey in terms of his time here with the Cleveland Browns, he's been very, very consistent. 48.5 yards, 49.4, 49.3, 40.5, 42.2 net, 41.1. So he has been exceptional. You look forward to that continuing. Career high for him, 36 punts inside the 20. Career high for him, 16 punts inside the 10. And again, we said that he led the National Football League in that category. Kicking.
Just never would have seen it coming.
No. And he missed a couple more that were wiped out on penalty. And you had just signed D-Hop to a big deal. He's going to cost you quite a bit of money next year, almost $3 million. You need him to get back to the guy that he was the year before, and really the guy that he's been for the most part prior to this. 66.7%. That is his worst season in the NFL. He had one other that was sub 80%. That was 79.4%. But for the most part, in 2021, 88%. 2022, 90%. 2023, 91.7%. It's kind of just unfathomable that he would fall off in this manner.
Yeah.
To be inside, it's one thing, from 50 plus. For his career, he's a little bit better than 50%, but that's because he's 12 of his last 16. Prior to that, he was not 50%. He was basically exactly 50%. He was 15 for 30. Now he's 27 for 46. But this is somebody who had been really good inside of 50 yards. To go 5 for 8, 6 for 7, and 3 of 4, which is 9 of 11 and 14 of 19 inside of 50 yards. He's a 90% kicker his whole career in that range. That is a shocking one. He's only missed twice in his whole career from inside of 30 yards, and he did that once this year. Really, I think he did twice because there was a penalty that wiped one out, and then he missed it again. Just obviously the mental thing, something happened there with D-Hop, and hopefully he can get it back because you're into him for some money. So you kind of need him to be good there.
The other thing you thought that we were so excited about was this new kickoff and what it would all look like. And that was not easy sledding for us as well in terms of giving up and also taking advantage of it on our end offensively.
No, and I can go into going into week 17, and we didn't give up, to my recollection, a big one. But going into week 17, here's where we were. Our kickoff return average was 24.1 yards. That ranked 31st in the NFL. Yeah, second to last. So we did not have much juice there at all. We had the one long by Jerome Ford, the 56-yarder. That was our best return on the season. We gave up 27.2 yards per return, which was actually 13th, so top half of the league in terms of our coverage team, but we did give up the one kick return touchdown. On punt returns, we averaged 10 yards per punt return, which was 14th in the league. And we allowed 13.9 with a touchdown, which was 30th. So we were bottom 3 in the league in kickoff returns generated and punt returns allowed. And we were middle of the league in terms of punt return yardage and kick return yardage allowed. That's just, unfortunately, that's not good enough. That's not good enough.
No, and
that's not good enough.
When you are a bad team, and at 3-14, that's what you are. It takes a village to get there, and this is just another facet of this team that was not as good as certainly we anticipated it being.
No, one thing that you did well is, and you can say Miles did it well, is you blocked a field goal for the second straight year. Last year you had a few more blocks. Shelby got one, and you returned that for a touchdown against Philadelphia. But yeah, this was when you're not good. When you're a really good team, you need to be neutral in special teams. Don't lose the game in special teams, and we're going to win on offense and defense. And my dad and I got in a fight about this because he was saying, the Niners are always terrible. And so I said, when you're good, you just need to be neutral. Because that's what that's what Kyle always talks about. We just need to be neutral on special teams, and we'll take care of our business. Obviously, he didn't count his whole roster getting hurt. But when you're not good, or when you are certainly marginal on offense, which we were not good on offense this year, you need to be elite on special teams to try to get those margins that help you win. And unfortunately, we were not. I definitely think, and we've tried. We signed Jakeem Grant.
Oh, dude,
never got to play a snap for us.
You think about Cade, you think about Seibert, you think about. We've tried all of these things.
Zane Gonzalez,
yeah, we've tried so many of it. It's hard to land it.
It is hard to land it. It's hard to get the returner. We have not gotten that. I wonder if a guy like Devin Duvernay, who's been a Pro Bowl returner, I think he was on a 1-year deal with Houston after leaving Baltimore. I don't know if you have to bring somebody in to do that again. It does not feel, though, as that in-house we've got that guy. Now, Jerome Ford showed a little bit and certainly has the ability. He had multiple runs of over 60 yards this year. Maybe that's the guy that you go with, but it wasn't enough. I thought Pierre was going to be darn good at it. He looked good certainly here, but it didn't ever manifest itself. And he didn't get a ton of opportunities either. He only had 11 kick returns on the season. But yeah, I think disappointing from that regard, and especially when you had your punter playing as well as he did, to have your punt coverage not be as well, which was not great. Not great.
No, not at all. So lots to clean up and get right for this unit heading in to the 2025 season. We will play a divisional round edition of Guess the Scores with Dr. Z. I promise you there is going to be an additional wrinkle that I'm going to throw Dr. Z's way. This will be fun. You have that to look forward to, which is nice. Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner, your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back in. Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Valley Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time to play a little game we like to call Guess the Scores with Dr. Z, a playoff edition.
What's the wrinkle?
Here's the wrinkle. Not only are you going to be responsible for the lines,
Okay.
but also the over-unders.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
That
So
I
on
need
that,
more
I'm
than
going to give you, I'm getting there, I'm going to give you a field goal and a half
either direction.
either direction. Is that too much?
That's too much.
2?
2.5.
Safety either direction, 2.5?
2.5 either direction.
Got to be within a field goal? Okay. I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
Because you could have just gone for the easy dub there.
Yeah,
and said,
that
I'll
seemed too
take it."
easy.
Too easy.
Too easy.
Okay. All right. I will say that based on G-Man's sheet that he's given me, some of these have already moved a little. Yeah. So we'll see. All right, you ready? We start on Saturday. We also have G-Man went the extra yard here. He even has get-in prices courtesy of Vivid Seats, which I like. So Houston at Kansas City. This is a Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Lisa Salters experience. The get-in price is just $104 in Kansas City. It's old hat to them.
They'd like wake me up for the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
It's Arrowhead. It's cold.
Tell me when Buffalo or Baltimore is getting here, and then we'll be there.
Aren't we supposed to have like some kind of record frigid cold moving in too?
I think we're in it.
Oh no.
No. Next week.
Wait till next week.
Next week.
This is
Your
then we have
boys
like
are going to be home.
This is summer.
for like 4 days.
This is summer, brother.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Wind chill's like 30 to 40 below potentially.
Yeah. Are we
Is this real?
we
Yeah.
WFH under those circumstances? Those auspices?
All right, so you're looking
see
at
here.
oh, nice little
Careful.
weekend. Oh baby,
Don't go dying on.
high of 10, 9, and 12 middle of next week.
Yeah, it's nice.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
Dying.
Before I was rudely interrupted. Chiefs
Yep.
-8.
Okay.
Total of 43.5.
Oh baby. So it's 8.5 is the most recent,
That's a winner.
and it's 41.5.
That's a
So
winner.
that too is a winner. 2-0 start for you.
I love it.
All right, we are staying on Saturday. This is Commies at Detroit. Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady, Aaron Andrews, Tom Rinaldi.
Saturday night.
Do you think, and I saw Floria with this, who's a great friend of our program, obviously, with a line that Fox should acknowledge that Brady is part of ownership with the Raiders and that he should acknowledge that they interviewed Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn for the job.
I just
You can't keep doing this.
Well, no, this is it. This is the Super Bowl. They're going to keep him through the Super Bowl, and then that'll
That's
be
it. Has to be.
All right, I got Lions.
Yep.
By the way, $418 to get in.
It's a
Ford Field.
tough ticket in
They're not
messing around.
Detroit.
Oh, I'm
City.
surprised they have that much enthusiasm for it with it being in a dome. You feel like everyone there would be so excited to go stand in the cold.
It's weird because
Surprised they have that enthusiasm
I'm
because I
not-
noticed
Great
in Kansas City where they have maybe the best fans in all of football, we're right there with them. It's 104 to get in, and in Detroit, it's 418.
well,
That's right.
By the way, if you were to add up the outdoor game in Buffalo, the outdoor game in Philly, and the outdoor game in Kansas City, they actually add up to $419 to get in.
Oh baby,
And to get into the dome, it's $418.
who'd have thunk it?
Not me. Lions -9.
Got it. 9.5.
51.
Ooh, 55.5. 55.5.
That is awesome. That game is going to be incredible. Okay.
I hope it is, because otherwise Saturday could be a dud.
Yeah. We need it, man. This weekend was bad. All right, Sunday, NBC in the early afternoon slot, that rare instance where that's the case. It is Rams at Philly. Ram it at Philly. This is Tarico Collinsworth and Melissa Stark on the
3
coverage.
o'clock.
3 o'clock. It's $180. Get in price.
Philly -2.5.
No. It has grown to Philly -6.5.
What?
Yeah.
I don't get that. at
G-Man
all.
had it at 5.5. It's up to 6.5. And your over-under on this one is 43. Yeah.
It's okay. Hold on. So you can look. I wrote it down.
Let's
40
see down. Oh, you did 43.5. You nailed it.
Okay. All right.
Nailed it.
It was already written, so thank goodness.
Yeah,
for
you
that.
nailed it. I forgot all
Yeah.
the things we're doing.
Yeah.
There's so many
No, it was
layers
good.
to this now.
But right now I'm 1,
You're off to a
2,
good start.
3, 4. I'm 5-1.
No, you missed the over on that one.
On
Or
which-
you missed the line. You had it at 3. Yeah,
So
you're
sorry.
4-2.
4-2. 4-2. Oh, I just got to go 1-1 here.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you need. You're right there. You're on the precipice. Finally, this is obviously the game of the weekend. I see no scenario where this isn't great. Do you see either of these teams running away?
I think it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one. And then so many people are off. You got the holiday the next day, so it's not like you're worried about.
Yep.
I mean, obviously we'll have work. I'll have work.
Yeah.
Not we, Goose.
If you'd like me to do a segment for you, I'll do it.
Thanks, buddy. I believe that you would.
I mean, college
Especially-
football. Nate.
College football Nate
College football Nate could come
debuting
in
in
Down
in
to the
Columbus.
capital city.
Yeah.
Give a little taste
Give a little
of all the
taste.
brilliance.
By the way, the track record speaks for itself.
Track
You
record,
can
you were on
question
it.
the research or the hours.
I question none of it.
just the facts, ma'am.
I question
All right,
none of it.
I got,
Now you got
Bills.
Ravens at Bills.
Bills -1.5.
So you get it because we said had to be 2.5. It's Ravens -1.
Oh no, I don't get it. So the Ravens are favored.
Ravens are favored.
Was that always been the case? I thought I saw earlier in this week
You thought
something.
you saw.
I said that earlier.
Interesting.
I thought I was going to get the Lions wrong because I had seen that.
Yeah. No, it's 1. Ravens -1.
That's honestly, I think it should be Ravens -3. My total here, so I need this for the winning record, is 47.5.
51.5. 136
Man.
bucks. The game of the weekend. It's only 136
In
bucks
Buffalo?
to get in Buffalo.
That doesn't make sense.
It does. It's cold.
Yeah, it does.
People are saying, you know what? I'm going to watch at home. Big TV, no freeze.
So the 3 games without a dome, just to reiterate for those keeping score at home, $419 to get in. Combined.
You go to all 3,
That's
provided you had free transportation.
That's an average get-in price of, oh boy, $420. So it's what, $140?
Sure.
Basically a $140 get-in. Dome get-in, $418.
Yep.
Almost 3x.
Yep. There you go.
So I'll tell you what. So initial reactions.
Yep.
I think the line in Philly Rams is shockingly high.
Yep.
I think the line in Washington Detroit is shockingly high, even though I know the Detroit does blow people out. And I think that the Ravens should be even bigger favorites.
Yeah, the only thing I can think about with Buffalo is with Baltimore is just past history with them that they don't, they haven't done it in the postseason. But yeah, the way they're playing,
They had to have beaten. Didn't Baltimore beat Buffalo in Buffalo last year?
no,
Or
Kansas City did. Baltimore
was the one. Got it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the way it worked a year ago. All right, there you go. Good job out of you. Coming up next, second hour of the program, former Browns quarterback Kevin Hogan will join us at 2:30. But at the top of the hour, 4 downs. Boy, this is a big one. This is the penultimate episode. We may do one more edition of College Football Nate. Maybe next week post-championship, but this would be the penultimate episode.
I'm ready.
Of College Football Nate.
I'm so
it's
dialed.
coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. People would say are most likely. Ohio State wins by a bunch. Ohio State wins close. Notre Dame wins close. Nobody thinks Notre Dame's going to bury them. So I think option 1 is more likely than option 2 and 3 combined. It feels like Ohio State could win by 2 scores to me.
Yes.
Pretty easily. That's what it feels like.
Yes.
And that is college football 4 downs with College Football Nate.
Yeah,
Right,
baby.
there you go. We'll go around the league. We both watched the Hard Knocks episode last night as well, so we'll do that coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Love is always in the air when it comes to our four-legged friends. Join Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs, presented by Milkbone, by July 19th to fetch an invite to our Smooches and Pooches event. View membership options and join today at barkingbackers.com. Time to go around the league, presented by Leaf Filter, official gutter guard of your Cleveland Browns. We had the final edition of Hard Knocks last night. In it was this clip from Myles Garrett. Let's have a listen.
I've talked to AB, how we're going to make the most out of all the talent that is here. We're closer than some may think we are.
I did think it was interesting. If you have not seen the episode, obviously the majority of it is, as it should be,
on the playoff game.
Given to the playoff game between Baltimore and Pittsburgh.
Yep.
I would say, 48 of the 60 minutes? something there
Yep.
was dedicated to those two franchises that were in the postseason. I will give our side of it some credit in the fact of AB did sit down and do very clearly a specific interview with them about Miles. There was no mention of the Deshaun disclosure in it at all.
We saw him in a boot. That was
Yeah,
it.
but if you weren't paying attention, I mean, they didn't even mention it in voiceover or anything.
Which
I thought that was wild.
very surprising.
Miles, there was some good access with Miles, including the bite we just played. Conversely, in Cincinnati, there was nothing.
Nothing. Although I did, as much as I already like Joe Burrow, which pains me to say,
Oh, he's a good kid.
it's great.
Yeah.
He's wearing Seinfeld sweats.
Dude, he's wearing Seinfeld sweats.
Seinfeld sweats.
The final image of him is walking down this long hallway in what is very clearly their stadium because they don't have a true football facility. So he's walking out the stadium, what appears to be like a Quonset door, and he's walking out, and some equipment guy or somebody comes over
sign
with
this
a
ball.
football. He signs it, gives him a fist bump, signs it, points. No big deal. He's not in an entourage, nothing, just by himself, walking out. No big deal. Signs it and keeps going.
In Seinfeld sweats.
In Seinfeld sweats. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty good.
Pretty good.
Look, let's be honest. There's stuff that NFL teams are going to say, yeah, you can't show that. Can't show that. Like, I'm sure
Clearly.
they weren't going to show. I knew they weren't going to show, like, Burrow talking to Zach about, hey, man, like, we missed playoffs 2 years in a row. Like, what are we doing? What's the plan here? Like,
None
I
of that.
understand you weren't going to get that, but I did think from the Cincinnati perspective, there should have been at least something from Burrow.
There was nothing. There was just we fired Anarumo and the
It was
coaches.
just
You
the
got the Zoom. And from us, you got Ashton Grant in the quarterback room letting
Yeah.
the quarterbacks know, which was interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. That Ashton was the one who was, kind of getting that information out there. I was surprised that there wasn't some mention of the Watson.
Yeah.
There wasn't.
No. If you were watching it from our perspective, obviously we're watching it for our stuff, and there was very little. Miles said, which is good to hear that from him. You wonder what prompted him to say that,
Yeah.
which will be curious. I'm sure we'll get an answer to that in the coming weeks, whether that's a contract-related situation or if it's, the plan that they did share with him that we'll see become executed, in the near term.
Yeah. I thought it was, and I don't know if I would have watched it if we weren't involved, because there is so much stuff to consume now that this time of year, it's almost like overload for me. There's so much stuff. If we weren't involved, I don't know that I would have watched it, but I did enjoy it. I did think the idea of taking one division was cool.
I would have watched it, I think, had it been on any division other than the two South divisions.
Everything else.
Because the NFC South is the only division that is now out. Mm-hmm. The AFC South wouldn't have been all that interesting to me, to be honest with you. But if it was on the West, you had the Chargers and the Broncos and then the Chiefs bye week. I would have been curious to see that. If it was on the AFC East, with the Bills and their great game, I would have been interested to see that. And whatever fallout there was with New York and their coaching surge,
too,
and New
like
England and their
firing of
coaching
Mayo
and
and-
hiring of Vrabel, that would have been very interesting. NFC North, obviously, super interesting. NFC East, Washington's big win. Philly wins. Detroit, Dallas moving on from McCarthy.
Yeah. All that.
That would have been great. And then the NFC West, the Rams and everything they go through, and then they go and they turn in a performance of that level. Incredible. So I think any of those I actually would have been pretty interested in from a football standpoint other than the two divisions in the South.
Yeah. That was good. A couple other things around the league, some news and notes. The Indianapolis Colts are the designated home team for the NFL game in Berlin to be played next season. So we've got the London game, they've got the Berlin game, and we're waiting on Madrid, right?
Yep. Yeah, and then one of the other stories, which is wild to me, Deontay Johnson, you wonder, is his career over at this point? I mean, the Steelers said get
Feels
out of
like
here.
it.
The Ravens said get out of here. And then he comes to the Texans, who are without Stephon Diggs, without Tank Dell. And he apparently threw a fit in their locker room while players are smoking cigars and celebrating their victory that he wasn't used more. Deontay Johnson was a Pro Bowler in 2021. Last year had a little bit of a down year because he only played 13 games, but 717 yards, 5 touchdowns. He had 882 yards the year before that, 1161 and 8, 923 and 7. I mean, he has been a consistently productive player in this league, and he's a guy that if you talk to players on our team that have had to cover him, that he is a very difficult cover. but he must something switch maybe has flipped because Carolina signed him. Remember Bigley
Yes.
got him out of there. Baltimore was looking for receiver help, got him out of there. Pittsburgh needed. This is when Pickens was missing games. They got him out of there, and now Houston said, "Yeah, no thanks." I mean, is that it for him?
Yeah.
Because he's not
Wild. It's a wild fall.
He's not that good where he's worth a lot of.
No, he's crossed over. The pain in the neck is now
Yes.
superseding the talent. Is where that is.
By the way, Arthur Smith interviewing for the Bears head coaching job this morning and the Jets head coaching job tomorrow. And now there's reports that he and Russell Wilson did not get along. I don't know if you saw that.
Well, I mean, it's all there.
Yep.
It's all there for you, for sure. So, yeah. I think we touched on the Tomlin stuff already. Really quick, the Jerry Jones-Dion stuff. I think it's very clearly Dion wants more money out of Colorado. I don't think he's leaving Colorado at all. I think that he's trying to leverage Colorado to pay him what he is owed, more than it is him chasing down the Cowboys. I think it
feels more likely.
This was the worst Power 5 job in the land when I took this job.
Yeah.
We made you relevant right away, not just on the field, but in admissions and all of that
Everything.
stuff. And the next year we won 9 games and a Heisman.
Where are they
that's
going to
it.
be, though, losing Hunter and Shador?
They're huge in the portal. They landed a 5-star quarterback who they stole from USC. They got a nice portal quarterback who came in, I want to say from Liberty. That's nice. He's going to be okay.
Okay.
He'll be okay there. It's a great place to be, too. Boulder's beautiful. Former Browns quarterback Kevin Hogan will join us coming up next. He played for Mike Bloomgren, our new offensive line coach. So there's some familiarity in terms of that, and we'll get Kevin's view on what we can expect. Coming up next, you'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. It's presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Timed out on the Twisted Tea Hotline, presented by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Former Browns quarterback Kevin Hogan joins us there. Kevin, thank you so much for taking the time. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Good to hear from you guys again. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it is. And I wanted to talk about Mike, obviously, and he was named the new offensive line coach. You are quite familiar with what we're getting in Mike Bloomgren. What can you tell us about him, the man, and him, the coach?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic hire. Coach Bloom was so instrumental for me in my development at Stanford, in just helping me understand the game, the quarterback position, and so often as a quarterback, you're dealing with like the passing game and those concepts, but he really helped me understand defensive structure and the way that the run game can help set up the pass game with play action and bootlegs and understanding protections and how you can protect yourself from blitzes and then where you can exploit the defense. So as a coach, he was so instrumental. And then just as a guy, like he was, we're college kids and he was like a father figure to us out there. Always caring about us. He's definitely going to care about the man first, and then try and get the most out of him as a player. But I definitely would not have had the success in college and the growth as a quarterback without my experience with Coach Bloom.
Kevin, Nathan Zagura, great to talk to you again, brother. You mentioned kind of that development, and you look at your completion percentage went up every year. Your touchdown to interception ratio went up every year. Your yards went up every single year while you were with him. And I tell you, I got a chance to meet him, just shake his hand, introduce myself. He just strikes me as a guy who loves football. Is just when you think of a guy that would be an offensive line coach or a career-long football coach, football guy, he kind of fits that. Do I have a good initial read on him?
Oh, 100%. Just his energy in the room. You can't help but jump on the ship with him. And he gets the guys fired up. He makes football easier for you by scheming up things that are quarterback friendly and offensive line friendly. It makes it easier in the scheme of things, and just allows guys to go out and play confidently. But Bloom, he has a way of firing up guys, and especially in the O-line room, like they're going to be banding together, having the same creed as each other, and being ready to go out there and go to battle every day and protect the quarterback, keep him clean, and then open up holes in the run game.
And we know in this offense, and it sounds like Kevin Stefanski is going to go back more to his roots there. We had Bill Callahan before, and Bill Callahan was instrumental in a lot of the designs of the run game in terms of some of the pin-pull stuff that we did in addition to, the outside zone. Bill Callahan was an offensive coordinator. Bill Callahan was also a head coach, so he's known those things. Mike Bloomgren, head coach at Rice, offensive coordinator, obviously, with you, and now an offensive line coach. How helpful is it for somebody who's in that offensive line room where you're really responsible for making sure that the run game works properly, but also making sure you have the protections for the pass game? You really need to know everything. How helpful is it to have that background where you've done it as the CEO of the offense, but also then a CEO of a football team?
I mean, it's so important. And I can only imagine, the experience that he gained in the last, probably it's been about 10 years since I was with Bloom, just in terms of scheming up the offense as a whole, and developing his knowledge in the game. But I've never been around someone who was as good with protections and scheming up the run game. We didn't have to throw hot in college because Bloom's protections each week allowed us to know where the blitzes were coming from, where we were susceptible, and he gave us the tools each week to be able to pick up the blitzes and be able to take advantage of the holes that the defense left behind. So just as a quarterback sitting in there in the pocket, when you have the tells and kind of what the defense is bringing, that confidence just goes way up, and where you're going to go with the ball to exploit the defense. And then in the run game, he always had stuff schemed up. And in my experience in the NFL, lots of times the run game was almost a little bit simple in a sense that, like, if the safety's rotating down one way, we're just going to run the other way. Or if there's 7 men in the box, we're going to check to a pass. Bloom takes it a step further. He's looking at the shade of the defensive end, or if the linebackers are bossed over a little bit to the strength, then you expect that safety to come down weak. So he's looking for those things to take full advantage. He's not just trying to get the play run and hope for a successful play. He's looking at where they're lined up and how we can attack them in order to open up a hole for a home run play. And his philosophy is, he's scheming up a 12-round bout. He's
I like that.
scheming up body blows during the first half of the game, and he might call the same schemes over and over again. But by the time it's the third and fourth quarter and those guys are rolling, that defensive line's worn down, those linebackers are sick of being pulled into, you're going to see those holes open up in the second half, and that's where we had so much success in the second half of our games in college.
Talking to former Browns quarterback Kevin Hogan, who played for Mike Bloomgren at Stanford last 3 years as his offensive coordinator. Kev, listen to you talk, and what strikes me about the game planning, the calling, and the 12-round fights and all of that is attention to detail. And one of the things that I want to ask you was, obviously, under Bill Callahan, the attention to detail in practice was elite, and at times perhaps overbearing for some of the players, but the end result was unbelievable. What do you get in terms of Coach Bloom's attention to detail, getting all the little things right? Where is that with him?
Well, I had the fortune of being with Coach Callahan in Washington for an off season, and so I had a little bit of time with both, and I think he's right up there. I think that he to my understanding, he spent some time with Coach Callahan a few years back, so was able to learn from him and that philosophy. But I think he's going to be right up there with attention to detail and perhaps even evolve it a little bit more and try and make things a lot easier for the offensive line, for the quarterback, for the backs. And I think that, he's going to challenge them. He's going to put a lot on their plate. The quarterbacks are going to have to be looking for a little bit more. But once you get that under your belt through OTAs and training camp and it starts becoming second nature, they're going to reap the benefits of it. And they're going to start, when a run play is called and they see a 3-tech weak or they see, a 4-eye strong, they're going to be licking their chops. And I don't think anyone's going to be more excited than the backs that they have in that room, because I think you're going to start seeing some really cool things schemed up in both the gap scheme and the zone running scheme. And then just being a quarterback, when you can do play action off of that, especially with the backs that they have, and do some bootlegs and quarterback keepers, it's going to make the offense a whole lot more quarterback friendly.
You're speaking our language, because that's what we certainly want to see, and I think that's what a lot of people thought left, obviously when Bill Callahan left and the Browns had to make a move there. And yet you're right, Callahan was with the Jets, and when Bloomgren was getting his start in the National Football League, he was there with the offensive quality control coach for the Jets in the late 2000s. As for you, how the heck are you, man? What you been up to? I know a little UFL, the San Antonio Brahmas. How's that going for you?
Yeah. It's good. I'm actually doing that again this spring.
Nice.
So I'm excited for that. I think it's a great league. I'm hoping that it continues to develop. Had a good time doing it last year. I think there's, a lot of talent. And I think it's a good opportunity for guys like me who are trying to continue their career and hopefully get back into the NFL, or young guys who are kind of on the brink of making a roster and didn't quite make it. They get to go play some football in the spring, and you're not missing too much. NFL teams are in OTAs, which is kind of a little bit more relaxed, and we get to go play some football and hopefully put some good things on tape. So, I'm looking forward to that.
Kevin, it's interesting. We were at the Combine last year, and we were talking about one of the things that it seems to be a consensus on in the league is, especially at your position, that there's not a chance for young quarterbacks to really play enough games, that you get this time in camp and you really need more games. as someone who played in the league as long as you did, and you're trying to get back and you're playing the UFL now, is there a chance here for the NFL and real quarterback development to happen, and for the UFL to be kind of the catalyst for that? Is there an even bigger opportunity here than we realize?
Oh, I think absolutely. I made the team with the Browns based on my preseason performance my second year. And they keep removing preseason games slowly, but that was such an opportunity for me to take advantage. And you can't really tell until you're out there and the live bullets are flying. So that was a huge blessing for me to get those preseason games and kind of show what I could do in live football action. And I think that this is another opportunity for quarterbacks for all positions. I've actually spoken with some guys who have been practice squad guys, for years, and they've kind of let me in on, if they could come down and play these games in the spring, they would do it. They're trying to get that game film and try and boost their resume, but the way that the contracts are structured, the NFL teams don't want to let them do that. They want them to go to OTAs, but I think that, at some point it could kind of turn into something where it's like, minor league baseball, where you can send guys down or let them go play in the spring and get some game film and a little bit more experience. And I think it'd be a huge benefit to guys like me or some of the younger guys who haven't quite gotten that opportunity to go out and show what they can really do in live game action.
I think you're so right. I mean, think about it. Like, you come out, and I'll even give DTR on our team. Both of you guys were drafted in the 5th round. Both of you were starters in the Pac now, which is very sad. I'm sure you're sad about as well. The now defunct Pac-10, I would call it, Pac-12.
Yeah.
You go from being the man, from being the starter, from being, etched in the history books of your college to coming in the NFL, and you get really hardly any reps in practices, certainly in the season not. You get some scout team reps, but you don't play football, real football, for years, other than a few series in the preseason or a few quarters in the preseason. I think there's incredible value for those type of young players to be able to go, and you've got 8 teams in this league, and they could take, obviously I know people that are trying to come back in the league, they want to compete and get those opportunities as you are now, but I wonder, maybe you would still be in the league if you got an opportunity early in your career to keep playing football. I think it's the hardest position in the world to play, and the notion that you're going to be able to kind of not play football for 3 years and then come in and play good football seems crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And, I wish that earlier on in my career, I would have had a little bit more opportunities to get out there and kind of show what I could have done in different ways. And, but yeah, I mean, it's tough, and that's kind of the nature of the business, especially being a backup quarterback. You're not getting a lot of reps. And so you just got to be as mentally prepared as you can be to be thrown in at whatever time. And I actually had to deal with that a lot in my second year, just kind of coming off the bench and going in for a series or two. But if guys could go down and play in this, 10-week season, and be able to command the huddle and go through protections and go through their reads and make the throws, I think that would, be an immense benefit to them heading into the season, because you're not getting those reps. The starters are getting all the reps, and they're starting to take away these preseason opportunities, which really are the only reps you're going to get during training camp. Because during practices, you might get 2 or 3 here or there, but it's not enough to kind of really show that you can put together a drive and lead a team down the field. And so I think that it's something that has a lot of potential in the future. I thought it was a great league. I think that there's a lot of talent and a lot of potential with it.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Good luck to you, man.
Absolutely. You were a star, obviously, at Stanford,
thank you.
Kevin, and we'll get you out of here on this one. Andrew now is going to go back and do some things with the football program there. Obviously, Stanford has a great deal of resources, is tackling the NIL world and making Stanford a power, something that is being talked about out there.
Yeah, I think so. I think that he is the best man for that job. He loves Stanford so much, and everyone knows what kind of football player he is and what he means to Stanford and to college football, but he is a brilliant man, and he's going to think outside the box, and it's kind of like the Wild West right now. So no one really knows what the future holds. But as far as Stanford goes, there couldn't be a better guy to be in that position. And he's going to do things the right way. He's going to still attempt to get the Stanford type of man out there. But I think it's great that he's going to have a little more hands-on control with the football program and hopefully bring us back to where we were a decade ago.
Well, who better? You said it's the Wild West. Who better to have than a former Civil War general?
That's
and
right.
Andrew Luck leading the charge. Has he sent you any dispatches trying to recruit you to the cause?
He might need to. He might need to get that Twitter account up and running again.
It's the best. Kevin, great catching up with you, and good luck in the UFL, and good luck, going forward. Thank you for the time and the insights.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys. Hey, good luck this year.
Thank you.
Great catching up with him. Kevin Hogan joining us.
Great job, Gibby.
On the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline. So much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. You surprised more of these NFL jobs haven't been filled?
Yeah, and a lot of people have done interviews. I just saw something again. You always have to take these, that Aaron Glenn apparently is the favorite for the Jets job. I liked Aaron Glenn. He was great when he was here. He's done a great job in Detroit. I think part of it is you have guys that are desirable. Two of them who may be coaches that are currently coaching for Detroit, Johnson and Glenn, both of those coordinators.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And then it's like the other thing you see is the one thing that has been
Monken is one, and he's the OC in Baltimore.
somebody get him.
Please.
Get him out.
I wonder about him from our time with him. I have no doubt he would be a successful head coach. I don't know if he wants to do that. I don't know if he just wants to, let me just run the offense.
It's a very good question. If he would want all of that, I think probably, everybody would want to test themselves at the ultimate level. But I think also, and I think Ben Johnson's in this situation in Detroit, and obviously it's time for him. Now would be the time you would think. But also, like, it's a pretty good spot. Like, if you're Monken right now and you're coordinating Lamar and you're in Baltimore and you have that roster and all that, like,
if that's all you want to do.
Some of these spots, some of these jobs, like you mentioned Aaron Glenn to the Jets, and you know him and all of that. I don't. But, like, that feels like you're leaving there in a body bag.
If you are content to not be a head coach, then yes, it is so desirable to stay in those places. But then when you start thinking about, I get to be a head coach, I get to try this, I get the money that comes along with it.
Right. I think what that does, it allows you to be choosy.
Yes.
You can be picky.
Very
You don't
picky.
have to just jump at something. Look at the circumstances.
Jacksonville, to me, though, is still the biggest domino, and I'm shocked that my guess is they want Ben Johnson or Monken. I mean,
and
either
Dallas
one of those guys.
is open.
I think there's a lot that comes with that. If you look at the lack of spending that goes on there, it is very unique.
Yeah, I wonder if I thought I saw somebody project. I think it was our buddy Graziano projected Kellen Moore to Dallas as the HC. That's what he projected.
To come back.
30.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, there you go. Bill Benner, the Sporting News, going to join us tomorrow. The mailbag as well. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Runs Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.